So my name is Remi Olutimayin. I am the first voice director for animation in West African history.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode.
I've been in animation since for about 12 years now. That's since 2010, when I worked on our own area animated series. Prior to that, I've been a voice actor and a voiceover producer, copywriter. I worked in advertising. I've worked in banking and magazine publishing. And I enjoy what I do a lot because I believe that the heart of everything that I do, the heart of everything human, is about storytelling. When someone calls your name, it's not just a case of you recognizing the sound of your name. You have to have a story that connects with whoever it is that's calling you. And storytelling is the heart of everything. I'm so glad that that's the center of what I do.
All right, thank you so much, Remi. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, do you want to tell me a bit about your background? Did you grow up in Lagos, or were you born in some other part of the country and you came there? Tell me more about that.
I was born in Lagos. I was born and raised in Lagos. I've lived in Lagos for over 40 years now. The furthest I've traveled from Nigeria is Accra in Ghana. So it's, for me, primary school, Victoria Island, secondary school, Victoria Island, university, Unilag. It was at Unilag that I believe I came to understand the importance of being in the right place at the right time for the right reasons. And I was studying chemical engineering there, and I left to Babcock University to study mass communication. And I've been practicing that professionally ever since.
That's great. Of course, soon we will be talking about communication, what you do. But now I'm still interested in you growing up. I'm trying to understand Nigeria through your eyes because you did make mention of storytelling. And before we started to record, we did share some few lines about our country, Nigeria. So 40 years ago, when you were still a child in Lagos, and today, 2022, do you see any difference? What do you see?
Well, the first thing is the technology has changed. I teach copywriting, I teach creative writing, and I tell my students consistently that, look, when I first meet them, I explain to them that, look, your world, the world right now is science fiction come to life for me. There were things that we had hoped for, that things we imagined that are now real to us, like a video phone call. You know, the thing that humors me about Nigeria's situation is the fact that until human development is like literally the center or whatever it is that you're pushing. And I'm not talking about doing things to assuage your conscience as I'm just trying for this. As in, I'm talking about like literal human development, like what you come across in Singapore. Technology is always moving forward. It literally, human innovation doesn't really care about where human beings are. It is always going to keep happening. And there are some things that we've gotten ahead on, and there are some things that we've left, well, a lot of things we've left fallow. I think one of the major things for me is the fact that we are not in a military dictatorship. There are things that you carry in your worldview if you've grown up in a military dictatorship. You know, it will not be shaken. It just can't be shaken. It's just, regardless of whatever happens, regardless of whatever people try to say and encourage you to, as like, no, things have changed. No, you keep recognizing those patterns. Um, well, the other thing too is that now I actually work. Yes, adulthood is a scam. Let me just say that first. I love the song and I love the idea even more. So yeah, though the thing for me is that the better I am at my work, the more like play it is for me than a task that has to be seen to. And I'm grateful that a lot of my work actually feels like play. Um, the the population of Lagos has traffic. Let me put it that way. Yeah, traffic has been one of the main things that has changed in Lagos. Before, traffic used to be limited to the bridges. I think it was during the time of Buhari's first coming when they had to do a law. Well, I think it was supposed to encourage carpooling, where on odd days, that's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, your vehicle had to have an odd number, and on even days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, your vehicle had to have an even number for it to be legal to be on the road. I'm still trying to figure out how people who had only one car were supposed to make that work, But yeah, the traffic was Casa Bridge at the time. That's where it was pretty much limited. But now traffic is everywhere. As in, if you want to start traffic in Lagos, all you need is a bucket of water, pour it on any street, traffic will start. So um, then the personalities of Lagos, the personality of Lagos.
Thank you for that. Now, looking at Nigeria, looking at your country, our beloved country, in fact, it's the only country that we have in this world. What kind of story do you tell? What shaped the kind of story that you tell? And what kind of story do you want to tell about Nigeria?
When we started animation, as in our own area animation, the goal was to interpret how we handle pressure. If you are a Nigerian, you are more often than not under like a lot of pressure. I am exposed enough to understand that Lagos does not represent all of Nigeria. Nigeria is very wide and very, very diverse. The diversity has hardly ever been accurately captured on paper. Hardly ever, if ever at all. And we respond to pressure with humor. Oftentimes it can be seen as hubris from a distance. But unless you've worn the shoes of the people there, you will not understand the humor. A case in point, I remember a chap was running across the Kobe Expressway and almost got struck down. That's like almost just a whisker, just by about this. I still remember just about this. And he stood erect and just smiled and started laughing. And I laughed with him because that was the avenue that was easiest for him to release that the pressure of that moment, the realization that he almost died. And now when I was laughing with him, I was laughing with him with gratitude that he was alive. I wasn't laughing at him or at the situation. It's just, I suppose you can consider it to be gallows humor. Yeah. But the thing for me though is that the Nigerian story has started to move to a place of a stronger self-consciousness. Yeah, a much stronger self-consciousness. The weight of hope. Well, Nigeria tends to have this habit where it raises hope for a bit and then puts it down because the hope can be heavy. and you can wait another, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years. And I'm speaking from a time when we did not have elections past, should we say, governorship or local government chairmanship under military dictatorship. But now that it's reaches all the way up to even even the presidency, the weight of the hope has gotten even heavier. But we keep raising it. We've been raising it up more at a greater frequency, and I find that amazing. I find that amazing, and this is not even just tied to election. It's tied to innovation. It's tied to business, to the creative arts. There are lots of things that people had considered to be a waste of time. And meanwhile, right now you have professional makeup artists. The work that I do, animation, it was pretty much just relegated to idle. Nobody makes money from animation. Nobody watches that. Who's going to watch your cartoon? Who cares about your story? And yes, it was last night I realized that the animated series that I actually worked on as a voice director, as in the first one, it has gathered over 6 million views. As in all of them combined, over 6 million views since 2012, and that humbled me. That humbled me, because the thing is, that is not something that you can. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, actually. Because we were just having fun. I tried to keep to the best standard in terms of storytelling. 6 million views, wow.
Yeah, that's true. That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
That's a lot. All right. Now, looking at the Nigerian experience, because of course this is probably the last question I will ask you here before we move to communication and some strategy, how you operate and how some people can benefit from you. When you look at Nigeria today, because you have been here for more than 40 years, no, you have gathered some experience, no. What do you see to be the hope of Nigeria? Because up until now, even me personally, I do say it here a number of times that I used to be very vocal against the politicians because they have failed the country. And really, indeed, they have failed the country. But the people who have failed the country even more are the Nigerian people. The ordinary Nigerians who are participating in this negotiation of power, in this relegation of power, in this negligence of power. Because the politicians in Nigeria are Nigerians. Recently, I begin to think that individual Nigerians really do have power. They can do it. Yes, it is hard. It is hard. But it is harder if they don't do it. If they just hope that the government is going to do it, it's going to be even harder for them. But if they take up the challenge, it's still going to be hard, but they will have something out of it. I was telling you just now before we started to record that the interview I was doing with Professor Adesina, who is a lecturer at the University of Ibadan, at the point we were saying, okay, what can we do as a people? Because we can see now that the experiment that we have as a country is not working, it's not functioning. I know, I am not naive that we have less than 100 years of independence. If we start to make comparison to other countries, maybe like the United States. But that doesn't justify where we are today. So what can we do? He was suggesting, in a situation like the Korean, what he did was, individuals started to research their history and start to re-narrate their history and start to project where they want to go. Because if they don't do it, it's going to be very hard. So I'm trying to see, where do you see the hope of Nigerians to rekindle the light so that we can have something from this experience as a country?
Okay. The first thing I would say is this. If you're not aware you're taking an exam, you have failed. If you're not aware that you're taking an exam, you have failed. And if you have not studied for the exam, if you're aware, if you're aware that you have an exam and you have not studied for the exam, it's very likely that you will fail. Thomas Jefferson, one of the founders of the United States, he actually hinted that, look, a country is an exam. It's an exam. Somebody asked him, he was asked as a question about the future of America, as in terms of, so this republic, this thing that you have put together, you think is going to, what do you think is going to be for your children in the future and things like that. And the one thing that he said in his reply that still sticks with me is when he says, if they can keep it. If they can keep it. Prior to the United States, the idea of a country without a king, without somebody whose right rulership wasn't tied to God, or as in like that, there was actually like democracy. There was no shrine involved. There was no religious house involved. That's what Nigeria is doing. That's what other people are doing right now, but they don't understand that that is an exam. A kingdom is not an exam. A democratic country is an exam. It's an exam. And one of the ways that you fail it is by not studying. Now, I like what you said about how, was it North Korea or South Korea?
Yeah, South Korea. South Korea.
The South Koreans sat down and because South Korea has taken a beating historically from China and from Japan. As in, like, it has been under the heel of these countries. So they had to sit down and do a reinvention or a retelling of their stories. And this is the thing that I love the most about that idea. K-drama, K-pop, because they invested so much, and I believe that it was a matter of like great intelligence, even though I suspect it might have been something learned from, well, it was I believe it was a model that was developed by Hollywood that was later then adopted by Japan and other countries, China, even North Korea, then South Korea. See, the thing is that if a country is not investing in its image as perceived by the world and then by its citizens, it is failing the exam. It's all of us, right? If and anybody here watching, if you say America, there's an image that comes to mind. If you say an Englishman, there's an image that comes to mind. If you say South Korea, there's an image that comes to mind. Say Japanese, an image comes to mind. Say Nigerian. The images in your mind will not decide on what it is that is a Nigerian. It wouldn't even settle on. It would settle on. There are just like so many. It'd be like noise. It'd be like noise. None of the countries I mentioned are not diverse. The diversity is amazing. Japan, for example, the Japanese they speak in Tokyo is different from the type they speak in Okinawa. They can hear the accent. Because you can't speak the language does not mean that the diversity does not exist. You know? And there have been attempts to commit towards telling a Nigerian story. But I get the feeling that we can do more. We can do so much more. We can do so much more.
Thank you for that.
I'm so sorry. Let me just say this.
No.
If you sit down and look at the histories of minorities, one of my favorite things to clear people about the weight of the Nigerian identity is to discuss the wall of the city of Benin. And usually I ask, okay, so what is the largest wall ever constructed by human beings to date? And they say, it's the Great Wall of China. And I explain to them that the Wall of China is not even a quarter of the length of the Wall of Benin. That even though the wall was destroyed, in quotes, its construction was so perfect, thorough, and well thought through that the wall still exists. It may not exist above ground, but it wasn't built from ground level. It was built from below ground level. There's a way you have to think for you to. There's a thinking that it won't naturally occur to you to try and build something from below ground level, something that grand. It won't occur to you. You have to be thinking. You have to have a vision. Say, look, the people that you come from, directly or indirectly. If I from Kogi State and a man from Benin, if they say, you Nigerians, I am not going to deny him and say I share no history with you. Because I'm from Kogi and you are from Benin. No, it's silly. That's silly. You know, one is not saying that we should cast aside diversity. No. But the pride with which I can talk about the things that have happened in my own culture should be this. It should be with, I should feel no sense of betraying where I'm from when I'm lauding the great things that other cultures have achieved. There's no, as in Jaja of Opobo, Queen Victoria saw him as her equal in terms of regality. That was the reason why she ordered the deceptive British official who kidnapped him to return him back to Opobo. Said, the man is a king, return him back. You know, see, there are so many fantastic stories. So many fantastic stories. And the thing for me is that when these stories are told and told well, pretty much like what's going on in Korea right now, you know, when they are told and told well. Amazon Prime is now in Nigeria, they've got Netflix, you have all these people. Get these stories, support these stories so that they can then come out there. You want to hear something really funny about Korea right now? Really, as in terms of Korean storytelling. Are you familiar with this Netflix series, very successful, called The Squid Game?
Yes, I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it in detail.
It is the story of Nigeria. When you watch it, you'll understand what I'm saying. Oh, wow. It is the story of Nigeria. There are people who have actually sat down and broken down the imagery and the significance and the symbolism. Even what they wear is the Nigerian flag. Whoever wrote it has been a student of Nigerian history. I don't know who he is, but whoever he is, I don't cap to you as in like you captured the Nigerian condition perfectly. It's not for me. It's not a case of good or bad. We need to know our stories so that we can make better informed decisions in the future. And the future is tomorrow. The future is not. The future is probably in the next 5 minutes. And no, really, as in, all that corruption really is choosing not to do the right thing. It's turning the right thing into an opportunity cost.
All right, Mr. Remi, you see, it is a very important conversation, in that it had to do with us, our identity, our history. You started by talking about the image. You see, it is very important, that a country says says her image. Because if you don't sell your image, then anybody is what you are and what you represent is open to opinions. People can say whatever they like about you because there is no frame of reference. I believe that even in the time past, you didn't make mention of the war of Benin. Say maybe, for example, the time of the Empire of Benin. I was reading some time ago when the Benin were beginning to negotiate with the Portuguese, the Benin then telling the Portuguese what they needed, when the Benin, of course, were involved in war. They're telling the Portuguese, okay, now let's enter into this partnership of trade. You can bring the missionary if you want to teach the Benin people about Christianity, but on the condition that you will also trade arms with the Benin people. Because the Benin know that they knew the Oba was very intelligent doing what they needed. But the Portuguese didn't want to do that. Instead, they sent only the missionary to Benin. And this is what happened. The Benin people didn't need the missionary really. They needed the arm. They needed those weapons. Because it was very clear to them of what they wanted, the missionaries who understand that the people really wasn't interested in Christianity. They needed something else. It's about the selling. And of course, they have to return back before, of course, the Christianization of the country take place after that now. What I'm trying to say is that as a country, we must know what we want. We must have the strategy to be able to get it. Because we don't really have everything yet. Okay, we might have the raw material to get everything we want. But we have been sleeping for almost a millennium. While other people are going ahead. And like you said, technology is not going to wait for you. It's going ahead. If you want to play a catch-up, you are going to strategize. You need to know what you are doing and able to work with people. So that even when we talk of African values, it doesn't mean that we are going to start living like we used to live 1,000 years ago. We are going to take those values, add it to the technology we have today, and make it in a way that it reflects us. We're not going to live in the mud house because at the time, that was the only house that was available. We are going to build our houses with cement, with a baked earth, with all the technology that is available here. But we are going to do it according to the value that reflects us. Anyway, all these are very important now because we are touching history, we are touching about our identity. I can promise you, if we take this argument, it will take all the whole day. But let's leave it aside. Let's come back to what you do. How did you get started with communication and the skill to be able to do animation? Help us understand that, the initial part of it.
All right. So my first attempt at storytelling was at the age of 4, when I tried to record myself. I think right now, looking back, it was my first attempt at an audiobook. I tried to record myself reading a Ladybird storybook while recording myself with my father's video cassette recorder. Um, if you ask anybody who's known me from primary school, like Dario Obasanjo, I would draw. I was always drawing. I was always telling stories. But at that time, it was art focused. Um, then secondary school, it also continued as well. Except in that time, I was moved into writing. But the thing is that as much as I was drawing and writing, it should not be imagined that these things came out of a vacuum. I was consuming like lots of films, music, animation, comics. I was consuming a lot of that material, and I became better and better in terms of how they structure their storytelling to understand it very, very quickly. Now, moving on to like my career in quotes. Um, when I went to the University of Lagos to study chemical engineering, by the 4th year it was clear that I wasn't a chemical engineer, because if you meet any of my course mates, they will let you know that Remi was always telling stories. And when I got into Babcock University to study mass communication, that's when everything just clicked. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing so far. I think, yeah, it was about maybe about 4 or 5 years ago when it occurred to me that when actually a lot of things finally made sense, and I realized that I was on the autistic spectrum, which it gave a lot of clarity as to why certain things seem to make sense to me very early, ahead of a lot of people, ahead of a lot of people who are my contemporaries in terms of experience and things like that. And it wasn't clear to them. It was difficult to communicate it to them, and it would be about there will be a passage of time before what I said is like in front of everybody's faces, and those who would remember like, oh my, yes, Remi said so, and those who don't, like, wow, Remi, have you seen this thing? And I'm like, I'm not going to quarrel. Yes, I've seen it. I liked it. And the thing for me is that I've done like a lot of things in terms of mass communication, as in terms of practice. And when I finally settled on animation, it was for one main reason. Animation was relatively not new, but undiscovered. They've been Nigerian animators for like a long time, but most of them operated in circuits in Europe. Generally abroad, most of the animation was not for Nigerian consumption. Nigerian audience was not the first thing on their mind. The Nigerian experience was not considered content. And there is one thing about animation. If you don't know what you are doing, it will punish you. If, there are people who bluff. Yeah, yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do this. So I spent my first 2 years smelling those people that bluff. to understand what they smell like. And generally, people who bluff, animation is a team sport. When you can't do, when it's time for you to do what you're called to do, and you can't see it through, nothing's coming out. Not one thing is coming out. And if you actually can do what it is that you say you want to do, if you are that driven, if you are that invested in the success of the project, where you put your ego aside and get the right people in and give them room, amazing things happen. Amazing things happen. The area animated series, the team, we are less than 5 people. We're more or less like 5 people. I think two of them rotate in and out. But everybody is on their A game. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody is good at what it is that they say they can do. And everything comes out really, really tight. I got tired of a lot of disappointments career-wise. I like to be on a project and actually see it through. And when a project doesn't get seen through because of one thing or the other that could have been avoided, it kind of breaks my heart. And it was literally breaking my faith in actually getting anything done. But when I saw animation and it was clicking, I was like, yeah, one of the things that has humored me, it humored me for the first 4 years, was a lot of animators in Nigeria. Well, most animators in Nigeria are actually self-taught, and they never really quite understood the importance of having voice direction for the voice acting in the animation. They typically assume, like I used to assume back then, that it is the animation, it's the art, it's the design, it's the kinetics that you see on the screen that's the storytelling. And I matured. Picking voice directing was not an accident. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, I don't have any other work to do. No, voiceover, the work is plenty. But when it came to voice direction, I realized that, if your storytelling fails in one place, it breaks everything else. No matter how nice looking and wonderful it is, it breaks everything else. There was an animated series like a long time ago that got me thinking about the differences between voiceover and voice acting, working for animation as opposed to working for, I keep forgetting. Yes, I think it was the mark of Guru. Yes, the mark of Guru. Now, yes. Now, as primarily a sound guy, I had problems with where they recorded. I could tell it was an empty room with hard surfaces. So there was a lot of reverb. So that was one of the first things that killed the illusion of the animation, and it made it difficult to enjoy it. The second thing was that the actors were not telling the story; they were repeating lines that had been given to them. And they were reading the lines according to their mood, not according to the energy of the scene. And I'd worked as a producer in advertising, so I knew what it was like to work with voiceovers and telling them what it is that you want and failing to do that. I then became a voiceover and I started to understand what it was like to be a voiceover and hearing what the producer is trying to tell you, but the producer does not have your language. As in essentially the use of adjectives has been the weakness of the quality of voice work in Nigeria. As in, it's just a poor grasp. If you ask any voiceover in Nigeria what they think or what they feel when they hear, I want it loud but quiet. Everybody has heard that criticism. Everybody. Yeah, I need it bigger or smaller. I need it, And my time as a producer, I started to understand what they meant. Then as a voiceover, I started to understand what the voice talent's language. So as a voice director, I'm not the one doing the recording, but I'm communicating with the person recording. I'm communicating with the voice actor. So if the person recording says that they're having a problem with this, what do they think about this? What do they think about this? I'm like, okay, talk to me. They'll talk to me. I then have a conversation with the voice actor, and everything based on what my agreed direction was for the performance before we started recording. Everybody's on the same page, and everybody gets the performance that makes the storytelling work. For 4 years, I tried to explain this to animation studios in Nigeria, like four good years. Because they are self-taught, the material that they got never pointed out the need for a voice director because the source materials were not written with a Nigerian in mind, with an African in mind. They are written for people in the West who had voice directors available to them. They were part of an already existing ecosystem. Meanwhile, Nigeria, the animation ecosystem was just kind of like building, literally like grassroots. You get. So for me, I like to thank Nnamdi Moha for the vision of actually understanding what voice directing was, and because of the courage that he had, right, it reflected in the overall quality of what came out. I mean, like I said, over 6 million views in like 10 years for a cartoon that was less than 5 minutes. As in a cartoon series of episodes less than 5 minutes. I'm like, wow. And it's not even West, it's not American or British, it's Nigerian. So I've stopped trying to defend the value of voice directing. Those who get it, get it. Those who don't. And I'm not going to wrestle with anybody. Like I said, it's an exam. If you're not aware that you're taking the exam, you are not going to study for it. You're not going to prepare for it. And you'll be feeling it, not even realizing you're getting graded. You'll say, this notice is very hard. I don't understand what's going on. That is your grade, sir.
You're supposed to prepare for it.
Prepare for it.
I like that.
You know how it was back in secondary school and university. I got an A. They gave me F. Look, just own it. Just own your contribution to your situation. You get once you take that responsibility, all right, then a lot of things become easy.
Thank you
A
for
lot
that,
of,
Remy. You see, this is like what we were saying before, no? In that when we think that somebody is going to fix Nigeria, Nigeria will never be fixed. Looking at it as a national situation now. But if every Nigerian now, you, me, every person out there who is a Nigerian listening to us, begin to see Nigeria problem as their problem, then they will begin to fix it from their angle. You don't need to become the president of Nigeria to contribute to the success of Nigeria. You just need to start where you are. Do what you can do within your power. That is all you can do. You are a writer, begin to write a better story for Nigeria. You are a speaker, begin to speak a better story for Nigeria. You are a pop star, wherever you are, that is where you are called to do this job. Like you said, you must know that this is an exam. You must be prepared or be ready to fail. All
yeah.
right. Tell me about the skill. This is very important. How do you get that for people who are just starting and they don't yet know what to do? Share with me your experience. How did you manage to clean up yourself? Because now you're an expert, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole of West Africa. That is not something everybody can do. Tell me about your skills acquisition.
Well, first you have to understand story structure. Then you have to understand story dynamics. Then you have to understand character dynamics. Then you have to understand individual psychology. You have to understand motivations. Well, essentially, for me to try and explain everything, I'll just end up sounding pretentious. So this is what the best way I can explain it is probably in short models. I can give models for the next 5 or 6 hours, but I'll just keep it down to 2 or 3. Well, the first model is this. Nobody is the bad guy in their own story. Nobody.
That's good one.
So as a voice director, I need to be certain when I hear the voice actor that they are not speaking in judgment of the character they're playing. It will show. And if it's showing, if I can pick it, it has the judgmental voice has a certain tonality. If I can pick it, the audience will pick it. So that means that you are not ready. You still need to put in some work regarding understanding your character and appreciating your character. Instead of thinking, this is the bad guy that you gave me. No, that's not your business. Your business is not to judge him. That's not your business. Your business is to bring out the human being or bring out the life of the person there. That's your business. And the other model that comes to mind for me is a case of parallel understandings. That one is very, very key, because sometimes I can't get some people are not ready to make that transition where they can actually empathize with who the antagonist is in the story. So I have to then switch to teaching them models, the model of parallel, like parallel thinking. For example, the things that make you angry as a person, as an Obehi you right now, things that make you angry. It's not what happened that makes you angry. It's your perspective of it.
Love that.
Understand? So I try to get my actors to find that perspective that is parallel. Because the thing for me is that a voice actor is first and foremost a talent. That's what they are. They're a talent. It doesn't matter if the person started last week, last month, last year, last 20 years. The person is a talent. You know? And it is the individual, not my mood, not my own, not my energy, not what I want to see happen. It is this person is the one who is going to carry the character across transitions. Because whoever it is that we meet in the character at the beginning of the story, or the first time we meet them at the story, if they show up again, they were not going to be the same person. Things have happened. For example, the Obehi that I'm speaking with right now is not the Obehi that I was speaking with an hour ago. Information has been exchanged. The stories that run in your mind regarding how you relate with me have evolved. Those things need to reflect in the character. Now, sometimes, well, more often than not, voice acting, because it's relatively new. There are a lot of voiceovers, but voice acting is relatively new on the continent. I have to help put them on the right path with the right perspectives or the right parallels, so that it comes out sounding genuine. If you sound like you're pretending, that's not good. That's not good. If you sound like you're just repeating what they told you to read, that's even worse. That's even worse. No, for me, the joy for me is when the actor sounds genuine.
All right. Now, is there a difference between voice acting and voiceover? Can you please make a clarification for us about that?
Okay. Yes. Not a problem at all. All right. So, let's play a game, if you don't mind. Just indulge me for about a minute.
I'm here. I'm all yours. I'm all yours.
Thank you. All right. So when generally, if you watch the war films or the American police films, so when they are speaking on the radio, communicating on the radio, right? What is it they say when they finish talking before they switch over?
Well, I'm not sure I remember exactly what I'm supposed to say there.
See, this is the thing. That is how ubiquitous this thing is. Like chili chai, this is what they say, over. That over that they say, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That is actually voice over.
Got it.
It was primarily a tool for radio. That's what voiceover is. It's primarily a tool for radio. And the thing for me is tonality. It's in terms of tonality. A lot of voiceover work is mostly tied around selling. Okay. And it was a voiceover that I grew up consuming in Nigerian advertising, whether it was radio or TV. Really catchy stuff, with the jingles and things like that. It was fun. But when it comes to voice acting is not about selling. It's about being. It's not about a brand. It's about a person. For me, that is the difference. That is the difference. The next heavy difference is stamina.
Stamina. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, the stamina is not a joke. Stamina is not a joke. I've been voice directing an animated series now for actually since last month. Yeah. And I've been voice directing it remotely, the teams remotely. A voiceover comes in, does the voice work, and goes, gets paid and goes. He does not have to remember who that character was. He doesn't have to remember how that voice was. He doesn't have to, as in he's done and dusted. But with voice acting, you have to carry this character for the length of his or her appearances in that particular animated movie or series. You have to carry it. You have to remember. You have to get back into that energy and also note where the person has developed in terms of the character development across the arc of the story. What point are they? Like I said, there are many voiceovers, but voice actors, very few. There are people who would even, I remember once I had an argument with someone. Well, not really an argument, it was pretty much a debate, saying that, you know what, no, I'm very sure that actors can translate easily into voice acting. And I laughed so hard because a lot of actors would rather run away. As in, like, even when I say actors, I'm talking about Hollywood. I'm talking about like the West. They will run away from voice acting, and it has
Why?
nothing. It's a different type of stamina. It's a different type of stamina. As in, it can be punishing. The thing is, for example, a screen actor has a physical environment to react to. You can see the person that you're supposed to be fighting. You can see the car you're supposed to be driving. You are sitting inside the car you're supposed to be driving. You know, even if it's a green screen, completely fabricated environment, there are the cameramen, there are people that can tell you what you're supposed to be reacting and be bouncing off of. But with voice acting, there's none of that. It's you, the script, the microphone, the voice director, the studio engineer. That's it.
All right. Now, for maybe individual who want to get into the business of voice acting, what would you like to say about that? Basically, what do you want to tell us about the business of voice acting?
The first thing you need to do is study. The good thing is that if you've been exposed to content over the last 30 years in terms of animation, in terms of movies and things like that, you've already started your study. But now you can make your focus more keen. If you can find classes, please take them. If you can afford them, please take them. If you can, well, I run a community called Voice Acting Africa. You can find us on Instagram and on Clubhouse. I think actually, yeah, we are planning to actually expand in terms of membership from like next week. The thing is that one of the best things that can happen to a voice actor anywhere in the world is to come across a community that actually understands. Let's say there's an item on the dining table that you need. The way you would ask your son, is it the way you would ask your wife?
No, not at all.
Tone of voice, yeah. The tone of voice, is it the tone of voice, the energy?
No, it's not the same. Of course, this will depend on the situation.
That's the thing about the voice acting. The person you're talking to is the situation. Everybody voice acts. Everybody. Because we adjust what we say and how we say. In fact, we adjust how we say what we are saying according to the person that we're speaking to, according to the situation that we are in. But we've been doing it, subconsciously, just going on with the flow, and for such a very long time. And we didn't recognize it to actually be voice acting. It was part of our nature. It was part of how. It's kind of like think of it this way. It's kind of like how because you can walk, you can learn how to run. You know, voice acting is as natural to us as walking, but to voice act professionally, that is as natural as running 100 meters. Not to win, no, just running it at all.
Just participating.
But think that you can do it. You can do it. Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right, now for beginners, I say again, because we pay a lot of attention to beginners in this podcast, beginners who are just getting started in the knowledge industry, which can be maybe content creation or things like that. Okay, if you are still a pro, it's still okay that you can learn something here, but we are basically concentrating on those who are coming in. What should they do? How should they get started? So for a beginner who wants to get into voice acting, what would you recommend for them as a kind of a strategy to succeed?
Okay. Well, like I said, um, study. If you can find classes, get classes. If you can find a community to plug into it. Usually, the next thing is actually your demos. You need to actually have a very good demo. Now, a demo essentially is your displaying your abilities in terms of voice acting. Now, you don't have to have been voice acting for 10 years or 20 years professionally or 5 years, but you can get a script, any script, online. Um, Whether you get to a studio or you learn how to run your own microphone, kind of like what Obehi is doing right now, and record yourself doing those lines in an interesting way that you find to be creative for you, right? You can then share them on. You can share them. Some of the more imaginative people actually find a way to use album art and share it on YouTube, and share it on social media and things like that. Yeah. Professionalism, you need to have that. Otherwise, nobody's going to keep coming back to you to work with them. You need to be professional. And being professional is essentially about learning to do the right thing at the right time. Yeah. You need to be professional because people are depending on you. Yeah. People
That's
are
very
depending on you.
important. That's very important. All right, now, this is towards the end. We're almost closing now. And we do appreciate your time, your contribution here, your sharing. So we want you to use this moment to promote what you're doing. Tell people how they can connect with you, what they can benefit in what you do. Please go.
All right. All right. So the thing is that I have different ways in which I can actually help people because I wouldn't call it my market or pretty much my clientele is pretty large. When it comes to voice directing, that was in animation. Yeah, as in if you have an animated series or an animated movie or an animated short that you have in mind that you like to produce, that is typically when you plug in a person like me, where you plug in a voice director from the point of casting. Because there are people who have the talent, but don't have but there are things that, for me as a voice director, I pick up very early in casting to know if someone's actually going to be a problem or someone's going to be an asset. Those those things can make a huge difference in whether or not you're going to succeed or fail. It's not a case about judging another human being. For every production, there's where people need to be. They don't have to be at the same place, but there's certain place that people need to be. And I told you my 2 cents regarding that. So yeah, I work with animation. I also do work in terms of ADR. Now, this is the thing about ADR. ADR, which is additional additional dialogue recording, right? Or automated dialogue replacement. Actually, it's automated dialogue replacement. There are 2 types of ADR. Now, the automatic dialogue replacement is this. Do you remember, did you grow up watching those Kung Fu films?
Kung Fu film.
Now that,
Yeah. The karate.
yeah.
Chong. Yeah. I remember.
Exactly. I know how they would speak in English, but it didn't match what their mouths were saying, how their mouths were moving. That was actually very badly done. Automated dialogue replacement. Essentially, what that is that the film or the film or the animation has already been produced, but they want to change the voice of an actor or certain actors. If they want to change the language, that is when you plug in people like myself. There's one of my favorite ever projects because it helped me. It helped me appreciate how voice directing changes the game of animation. So there's a company called Aardman Animation Studios. They are British. Their work has won at least 4 Oscar awards. 4 Oscar awards. And they did some corporate social responsibility. If I can understand it to be, I stand to be corrected, but if I understand it to be what it was. It was for an organization, an NGO called the world's largest lesson. Sorry, Project Everyone. It was Project Everyone. That's the name of the NGO.
Project Everyone.
Project Everyone, yes. And essentially it was about trying to get children involved in STEM towards the preservation of the environment. It was tied to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And they did fantastic work. It was the animation is beautiful. It's just beautiful. And Project Everyone had a version of the animation in different languages across the world. As in, they had it in Japanese, they had it in Brazilian Portuguese, they had it in European Portuguese, they had it in British English, they had it in Mandarin, they had it in Polish, they had it in so many different languages. So many different languages. And they they reached out to Nigeria, to their friends in contact Nigeria to find out if they could convert the animated. It was a set of 3 animated stories. If they could convert it to Nigerian languages. And thankfully, a friend of mine, her name is Jennifer. She runs something called Susty Vibes. It's a brilliant NGO for. You can just check out Susty Vibes. She remembered that I was a voice director, and so she let them know. She let them know, passed my contact information across. Now, this is the thing that's interesting to me. I kind of figured it out. It wasn't something that they were willing to try in Nigeria unless they knew they had the voice director. This is not something that a producer does. As a producer can do anything. When you hear the work from a producer and hear the work from a voice director, the difference will be very clear. It will be very clear. And when they told me about the project, I explained it back to them what it was that they were asking, and they were like, "Yes." I said, "Okay, good. Yeah, we can get that done." I then listened to what they had done from other countries, especially Japan, because for me, Japan has the best voice acting in the world right now, the best. And as in, you don't need to understand the language, but the way the emotion will hit you and carry you along the story. I love them. Even their system of voice acting, training for voice acting, I love camp. So I got the script. I listened to what they did in Japan. I said, I'm going to do better. I'm going to make we're going to produce much better. Got the people involved for the Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Nigerian, English. Got it done. The animation, the series of that, the title of the animation is The World's Largest Lesson. And by the time we were done, I'm not beating my own chest. It was excellent work. I'm not beating my own chest because I was a voice director, yes, but it was not my voice. My talent supported. My talent did not get it done. My talent supported it in a way that it can come out at their strongest. So as in, that's just like one side of what it is that I do when it comes to that ADR. So it doesn't matter if your animation has already been produced. If you want to make it sound better, if you want to change the languages, yeah, it's voice directors that you use. Because the process, the process behind it, it's not a skill set. It's either you know or you don't know. Applying it is another, either you know or you don't know. There's so many either you know or you don't know involved in voice directing. It's amazing. It's amazing. So that's why I learned to stop arguing with people. Say, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. And at least every year, maybe like 3 people come back to me and say, so you remember that thing that I brought up? In my mind, I'm like, I'm grateful that you did not bear a grudge. That you saw you experienced what was down the road, and you had the strength to come back and still seek for help, or at least to try and engage me. And I for people that do that, I appreciate them always. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. Nigerians are proud, though. As in everything, top shoulder. Cannot know. They must not know. So, brother, there's nobody. Even if you know, next year they will not care. There will be somebody else's. They should not know that they will be following. Just get your work done. Get your work done. Let it be outstanding. Let it last. Let it be an evergreen.
Thank you so much for that. Now, what would be your final statement here, looking at what we have discussed today within the area of voice acting and, of course, storytelling? In fact, something I wanted to ask. I wanted you to talk about the role of the role of storytelling in voice. What is the role of storytelling in voice acting? I think that is important. Please speak to that.
All right. So the thing is that when it comes to voice acting, the thing that you need to understand and accept is that the character you are lending your life to the character. You're lending your breath to the character, and you cannot approach the character judging them. You cannot do that. It literally doesn't matter how bad or how evil the person has been portrayed, or how evil the person is, or what evil the person is going to perpetrate during the course of the script. No. The thing is that person has his own story. You remember those Rambo films now? The Rambo films, the Schwarzenegger films of the 80s, those action films. or Bruce Willis when he did like Die Hard. For every good guy that they set up the story for and they showed the person shooting and killing all of those bad people that are supporting the bad guy. If you had to play one of the bad guys and you find out that he was doing all of that bad work because he found out that his grandmother had cancer and they did not have money for the treatment. So for him, he has to do this work so that he can get that money. Let him just, let him take this thing on his conscience, on his soul, so he can provide for his grandmother's health. That changes the way that you look at that particular villain or villain's henchman. That changes. That is part of the storytelling. I'm not saying you have to dig in very deep and go all and start to, dance to all the possibilities. No, the thing is that as you see the character and their interactions, the things that are happening that are changing for them during the course of the story, reflect on those. They will not tell you everything for you to know more than what is written. Reflect on those, and let them. If you have doubts, have a conversation with your voice director. If you have, as like, the thing is that I'll give this. I'll give one of my favorite examples. This year, I voice directed an audio series for TNT Africa called Love, Music and Dreams. And the lead antagonist in the story was a chap called, which I can't believe I've forgotten the guy's name. It was played by Daniel Edson. Brilliant actor, I also have to applaud the actors who transitioned from screen acting to voice acting. When you worked with me on that project, they made me happy. As in Shaliwa Ashifa, Ashaf, as like Jumoke Ladibello. I see like they did brilliant. They did brilliant work. So I let them know, essentially, the guy is cheating on his girlfriend. He can't help it. The small brain is leading the big brain. He has money. Money is not his problem. His girlfriend is fantastic. She's amazing. She's beautiful. She's admirable. Every man that sees her wants her. But he's cheating with her with one local runs girl. And when I remember I saw the look in the eye of the actor playing him. I saw the look, and I was like, when I was reading, I said, hey, stop that. I still remember that day. I said, look, it's easier to judge somebody who is being deliberately evil than to judge somebody who's an idiot by accident. So I said, I want you to, because I'd read the script, I said, I want you to understand that it's not that he wants to cheat on his girlfriend or that he wants to be a philanderer. No. He's just never had to develop a backbone in terms of making decisions for himself. Things just seem to be decided for him that work in a way that give him pleasure. So he doesn't fight it. That is where life and everything has carried him to. And I need you to reflect that in your mind, everything's going to work out all right. Everything will be fine. That is how That's how. I know we had them as classmates. We had those guys as classmates, as in like in your mind, you're like, why is this guy happy? I think why is anything working out for this guy? He's not making any definite decisions. It's not good. Meanwhile, everything's just working well for him. He doesn't need to be involved in decision making for a decision to work in his favor. He just does it. Just goes along with the flow. And that I think that was what helped make his performance come out even very, very brilliantly. Very brilliant. So that for me is, as in terms of storytelling and voice acting, it's I think the highest form I can take it to is this: who you are is a story that you're telling yourself right now, a recursive story, something I keep repeating. Every time you hear your name, every time you see your name written down, every time you're doing what it is that you do, that you're tied to your identity, to your work, to your purpose, to your vision, to the things that you want to achieve. It's a story that keeps on going on. If you can find that story for the character that you're playing in terms of voice acting, it doesn't have to be extraordinary. Just something nice and small, can be pedestrian, something to just fall back onto. You're good. You're good. That's like that's a fantastic beginning place.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, looking at the Nigeria entertainment, of course, you talk of Nollywood now. There is a lot of voice acting that is taking place there, particularly a subsection of the Nigeria film industry, which is requiring a lot of attention. I'm talking of documentary, which is the telling of the Nigerian stories, different facets of the Nigerian story. So I want you to tell me how you see this industry of voice acting in the future, and also because there is also another aspect of it, no? Which is the marketing, the publicity, the commercials. People need. I think I'm beginning to see now that voice acting actually have a lot of opportunity, that things that we don't even think that they are there, and they are really there. So tell me about where you see them in the future and the opportunity that is available for young Nigerians who want to play a role in this area.
Well, one thing I'll say is that we've all been immersed in voice acting for as long as we can remember. We're just not aware of it. We just thought of it as something that's just, it's always been there. As like right now, when you mentioned the thing about documentaries, yeah, we've always had documentaries as far as we've been alive, but we didn't actually realize the voice element. Now, when it comes to documentary work, that usually falls between that falls in the realm of voiceover as well as voice acting. A lot of that depends on what the purpose of the documentary is. What is the purpose for the documentary? Is the documentary meant to be like Giant in the Sun, or is it meant to be like a David Attenborough? Sorry for those who don't remember Giant in the Sun. It was a series of it was a documentary series on Nigeria that was made popular in the 80s, very early 80s. I apologize, it was before your time. I hope you can find it on YouTube. It was a gem. So it can be an official family documentary, or it can be something that's meant to be informative or educational, or every documentary has its purpose.
Purpose also, yeah.
Yeah, that affects the choice in terms of the voice writer. In terms of documentary voice, I've done all of them. I've done them. I've done them. I've done them. And no, 20 years is not being so. As in, I've done them. If I got curious about something, I just did it. And that's when I became aware of the different styles. documentary work. I think that now is the time. Now would be a very good time for. I wouldn't call it Nollywood per se. Now's a good time for us to decide what it is that we want to watch, what we would like to hear. The story of the journey of Nigeria, the journey of a colony. I think that's the title. That was yeah. That documentary was needed, and he did not, we say, voice act as an instructor or as a teacher. He wasn't didactic in his delivery. He was like a friend who was informing you of something that he thinks he should know. And that translated very well with the images and the information and things like that. It translated so very well. I saw him at a launch for an autism center some months back, and I still regret not going over to him to shake his hand and say, thank you. I still regret it. I still remember where he was seated that day. I was like, wow, thank you. So yeah, we can actually tell people what it is that we want to know more. And we need to stop being afraid of our story. We need to stop being afraid.
If there is any reason, why are people afraid? Because now, this one is not like opening another Pandora,
It is shame. It is shame. And I don't know any country, any nation in the world without shame. If you don't embrace your shame, it will forever be that power, that hold that the future will have on you that prevents you from becoming who you are supposed to be. Imagine if you are ashamed that you used the toilet for the first 10 years of your life and you didn't want anybody to know. And that was the focus of everything that you are doing. Don't let people know that you shit. Do you think what energy would you have to function normally, to achieve anything, just because you want to hide the fact that you have a digestion system that eliminates the food that you have eaten after a particular set number of hours, because you don't want to be like other people. You don't want other people to know that that's how your body functions. That's the beginning of madness now. Everybody has it, but we don't make that the center of what it is we think about when we meet each other. That's not the first thing I'm thinking about. It's not. So why should that be the first thing you think about when you're interacting with people? So that's the thing for me. That shame, the shame of the country's past, accept it. Don't fight. Stop fighting it. Stop fighting it. And you messed up. Yeah, you messed up. Stop fighting. Acknowledge it, and the future will then give you more room to breathe and be less scared about somebody bringing it down by bringing it up. Be bold in your person.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Now, what will be your final statement here, considering what we have discussed today?
If you are African or of African descent, and when I say of African descent, I mean that Africa has been involved in family culture, and you are interested in voice acting, please understand that what you have is very unique. It's very unique. All the way from the way our mothers would play gospel music on Saturday morning very early so that they can start cleaning the house. If you are American, Kirk Franklin. For Nigerian, it was probably Pan Person. Yeah, your voice carries a story. So please don't be shy. You can reach me on Twitter at Remi Olutimayin, or you can reach me on Instagram at Olutimayin Remi. Please do look out for Voice Acting Africa on Instagram as well. We do have meetings on Clubhouse, but the reason why I'm harping on this is I know what kind of support I needed but did not get when I first got into voice acting. And it's something that I would like to provide. Because, Obehi, do you know how unique the African voice is?
And some people don't like it. Because they like artificial.
You just did it now. Do you know how many people across over 54 countries in Africa understood you? That
is yeah. Please go.
It's instant comprehension. Instant comprehension, no delay. There's no stutter, there's no how do they call it? There's no buffering. We understand what you mean. Or one of the most powerful ones, the Nigerian.
But they are really making it more beautiful, though.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It is on us. They don't understand it, so they are not the ones going to make it beautiful. It's new to them. Meanwhile, for us, we know the difference between and we know the difference. The story has been told. Say, when you hear that and they had discussed money last week, there's hope in your hearts. But we also know that thing that you broke last week, that daddy did not have time to eat you. There's a sinking feeling coming. This is where I'm going to receive that. So as in like these things, we are powerful because we have them. We are powerful because we have them. So I'm doing my best. I actually pretty much took a break off a business focus so I could drive towards talent development. Because the more talent we have, the better our stories will be told.
Absolutely.
There are few things painful to me as hearing things fall apart read by a British chap trying to pronounce Okonkwo. I'm not Igbo, but I know Okonkwo. I know how Okonkwo is supposed to sound.
And that is the Africa you're talking about. These are the identity, You don't need to be, I'm not Igbo too. Okonkwo.
You understand? Because when you hear it in settings, you're like, okay, yeah. But and the thing is that I admire them for their audacity and their courage to actually try it. But I keep feeling that it should shame us to try even harder.
Thank you, Remi. It has really been a pleasure talking with you today. It really has been, this is a full lecture. We had a lot that we learned from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I had fun. Yeah, let's do it again sometimes.
We are going to do it again.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.